I thought I'd do a quick explainer on how I manage my photos and files. It's something that comes up a fair bit, so hopefully this will be helpful, particularly if you're beginning, not quite sure where to start. So what I probably need to explain first is that I have a master folder, and for me that's the most important folder. So here I've got my 2024 drive and my 2024 backup drives. These are both identical. This one is an SSD, so this is the one that is my main drive that I edit off. The backup is just to make sure I've got the photos backed up, but both of them have a master folder in them, which makes it very easy for backing up. So I'll show you what I mean. So within this drive, so if I go to my Lightroom bit here, I've got the 2024 library. This is where all of my photos are. The reason I recommend having some kind of a master drive is it makes backup so much easier, because you're not trying to find all your photos in your, on your desktop, in your pictures, maybe in your downloads, across different drives. And then when you're trying to back them up, you're not sure where everything is. If you just have this one folder, this one master folder, it can be as messy as you like inside that folder. You don't have to have any structure if you don't want it to. But at least then, if you want to do a regular backup, all you need to do is drag the master folder over to your backup and you're done. So much easier than trying to find everything wherever it is. And yeah, so within that master folder, I arrange things probably with a bit of overkill. I do this because I take so many photos that I need to be able to find exactly where they are down to the day, and that's very easy to do in Lightroom. I'll show you that in a minute, but most people don't need this kind of a structure. I'm just showing you this because it's what I do. Most people might just do, if they've been to Redhead Beach to take photos, they'll probably just say Redhead Beach for their folder, or they might say Nobbies if they were at the lighthouse, that kind of thing. For me, this works, and you'll see why in a minute. But so if I go to the backup though, you'll see this is exactly the same, and I like keeping the same structure. So what's the point of having it be different to the main drive? Because if it fails, you can't then try to find where everything is in the backup. So your backup should always be almost identical to your main drive. I'd also recommend, if you can, having another backup as well. This one you don't have to add things to quite as often. I'll do it monthly usually, but it's a good idea to have two backups of your photos, and ideally, if you can, that second backup should live off-site. So if your partner can keep it, if you've got a computer at work where you can keep it, or something like that. The idea is just if you have a fire or something like that, and your main drive and your backup drive are together, then you lose everything. But if it's in the cloud, if it's off-site somewhere, then at least that backup is safe. So a lot of people will, if they back up at all, they'll back up just to the one drive. You really need to have a second drive if you can, because just because drives fail, and if you've bought all the drives at a similar time, it's quite possible that they'll all die at a similar time too. So as far as importing the photos goes, for me, so I'll just show you a photo before I import it. This was one from our photo walk last week. So if you see up here in the metadata, if I change that, you can see the date. So I'm just hitting I to cycle through the different presets. But this one lets me know that it was taken on the 8th of the 12th, 2024. So if I want to know where this photo is, because I need to print it, I need to do whatever. So because I know it was on the 8th, all I have to do then is go to my December folder, and the 8th, and it'll be in here. So yes, that's still a lot of photos to go through, but compared to how it was, if I was trying to find these on the desktop in pictures, it would be a nightmare. Here I know roughly where it is because that's the date, so it's got to be in that same folder. So for me that works really well. Again, if you were just taking photos of Redhead Beach, you'd automatically know it's in the Redhead Beach folder, so you don't need the same kind of structure. This is only really if you're taking lots and lots and lots of photos. But you might be able to adapt this, and yeah, it might work for you in some other way. But in terms of just importing, I do it almost entirely through Lightroom. You can do it through Bridge, you can do it through Capture One, it's all similar. The one thing I wouldn't recommend doing is just connecting your SD card and dragging and dropping. The reason for that is because if you don't format your card regularly, you keep all the cards, all the photos on there that you've taken, say for the past year. Essentially, every time you go to copy that across, you're copying those photos across as well. So all of the photos, not just the ones that you just took now. So the problem with that, obviously, is it creates too much clutter. You get duplicates of duplicates of duplicates, and it creates a lot of problems in, well, it slows down your computer for one thing, but finding the actual photo you want in Lightroom becomes much harder because you're shifting through so many different copies of it as well. So if you can, don't just drag it off here, do it in software, whether that's Bridge, Lightroom, Capture One, whatever you use. It's not necessarily simpler, but it's a much better solution. So I'll go to the import dialog and I'll add my SD card because that would help. It should pop up in a minute. There it is. Right, so these were the photos from a sunset shoot at Belmont earlier. So what I'll do is, so this master folder I was talking about before, so the 2024 here, so the December folder, all of this is what's on the side here. So if I was getting photos from my card that were from back in March for some reason, rather than having to go in here into March and, copy them, drag them across, all I have to do here is just click in March and then they'll import. So it's much easier doing everything from this one dialog. It just simplifies it all, at least I find it does anyway. So I know these photos were taken yesterday on the 14th, so I will go up here to the Into subfolder. So as long as December here is selected, I now can, this will create a folder here. The folder doesn't exist yet. So I will make this the 14th of the 12th, 2024. And then it will create that folder. And you'll see now the folder has appeared and the photos will start popping in. This will take a little while because I think it's about 50 photos, but that's essentially how simple it can be. You don't need to be dragging folders across. You don't need to worry about doing too many complicated installers or anything like that. It works pretty well most of the time. The one thing you can do as well is there's an option in Lightroom to do a backup as you're importing. I don't like doing that because it puts everything into one folder, and for me that doesn't make sense because I can't then find them. So if you imagine all of this was just, I've probably taken about 20,000 photos this year. If all of these were in one folder, I'd have no way of finding them at all. I'd be scrolling through so many photos. But if all you want is a very simple backup, that's something you can do as well. So that's almost imported. There we go, that's done. So what I'll do as well is I'll just show you quickly how I sort through my photos. And this will be similar in Bridge or anything else like that as well. Just so you get an idea of how quickly it can actually be once you've got all your photos together. So what I like to do is I like to create a collection. A collection is basically like a photo album. So if you have a collection of landscapes, you have a collection for all of the year, 2024, 2025, essentially it means you're giving it a structure within Lightroom so it's easier to find. So to make more sense if I show you probably, so I'll select the little cross and I'll do create collection, and I'll just call this Belmont Sunset. And if I can also tell it to go inside a collection set as well. So this is like it's like having a photo album inside a photo album, if you think of it that way. Think of your phone with how you have different collections and different photo albums that way. This is the exact same thing. It's not actually creating a physical album. It's just creating a link so Lightroom knows where everything is. It can take a little while to get your head around it, but when you do, it's a very useful tool. So I'll do create, and so now that has put only one photo in. Why did it do that? I didn't select them all. Okay. So I'm just going to put the rest of them back in there. So scroll down. Right, now they're all in that folder. Rookie mistake. So what I do is if I hit the X key, you'll see a little sign pop up in a minute. So the X means I've rejected something, or the P means I've picked it. So you see down here, the P makes it go white, the X makes it go black. So this is a very quick way of me telling Lightroom that I want to keep this photo or I might want to delete this photo. So for me, this one is too close to the bottom of the image, so I don't like that. So if I'll hit X, this won't actually delete it, it's just going to remove it from the collection, but by adding that X, it will let me know later that if I want to, I can delete it as one I've sorted. So I'll just hit delete, and that will just remove it from the collection. Prefer that one. Don't like that. It's just I don't like the way the boat's facing. That's okay, but I just don't find it that interesting. That's a bit better. That's okay. That's too close to the top. Again, too close to the top. Don't like that the people are in the corner of that one. That one's better, so I'll get rid of that one. So what I usually do is I just go back and forth, particularly if there are photos which are very similar, and I look for small details which set them apart. So this one here, if I zoom in, I don't like the way the person is there. It's distracting to me, so I'd rather have the first one. This one's too close to the boat there, and yeah, so I'll get rid of that one. Just don't find that interesting. Okay, onto the sunset ones. Okay, this one, I don't like the way the water looks. It just looks a bit busy, so I would reject that. Don't like the gap here as much. It's immediately noticeable to me. I like something filling that, so I would get rid of that one. Don't find that interesting. Prefer the water in that one, so I'll get rid of that one. That's okay. That one's probably more centered though, so I would keep that one. That's okay. That one's got a lot of vignetting around the edges there, and in that case I find it distracting, so I'll get rid of that one. Don't know why I took that one, we'll get rid of that one. The water looks better in that one. These were for a panorama, so I'll keep both of those, and I'll work out later if it works or not. I'm noticing as well there's a bit of sensor dust, I think. Yeah, so I need to clean my sensor, so sorry about that if you notice that. That cuts into the person a bit, so I find that distracting. I'll get rid of that. Yeah, that's that sensor dust well. Well, it's not even dust, it's actual, might be a hair or something. That cuts off too much. It's an empty sky, get rid of that. Prefer the water in that one. That's too empty. Prefer the water in that. That's not quite in focus, and that's better. So that took only a couple of minutes, and I've got that down straight away to 15 photos. I could go through them again, which I probably wouldn't. I usually get it down to 5 or 6 of just the ones I really like and want to edit right away. So if I go back to the main area in Lightroom, so the all photographs, go back down to the bottom, so you can see now that the X's are there. So if I were to delete these, you know, say a week later when I know I definitely don't need them anymore, that makes them really easy to find. And the ones that either have the white check mark like that, so they've got a white border around it, those would be the ones I know to keep, or simply them you know, not having the X next to them means I know to keep them and I won't delete them. So that was pretty quick. It only takes a couple of minutes. I just go on gut feel, and then if I'm really not sure, I'll zoom in, look for details, things like that that set the photos apart. But it doesn't need to be that complicated. Yeah. Okay, that should be it. Hope that was useful to you. So I just realised there's one other thing I should show you, and that's how to sort the photos so you can delete them more easily. Because as it is right now, you'd have to select them one by one like this, and it would just take forever, particularly if you've got, you know, dozens of photos. But there's a much easier way. So if you see right down here where it says sort by capture time, I can change this. So capture time is, you know, right at the very top of the catalogue. They're the oldest photos, the ones I took at the beginning of the year, and these are the most recent ones, the ones from yesterday. But if I change this to pick, then that means that the photos I rejected are now at the top of the catalogue and they're all together. So all I have to do then is shift click down to the ones that the last one that I want to delete, and then I can delete them. If you do this, it will give you two options. One will just remove them from Lightroom, so this does not actually delete the file, it just removes it from Lightroom, and so it's like it doesn't exist, but you still actually have the photo. So if you are worried about deleting something and you might want it, you know, in a year from now for some reason, the remove from Lightroom would work well for you. Deleting from disk will physically delete the file and you won't have it anymore. I tend to delete from disk after 1 or 2 weeks. I'll know by then if I'm going to want to use the photo or not, but it's different for everybody. But yeah, that's how you would do it, and that makes it much easier to, you know, group them all together and then delete them. So, okay, that should be it. Bye.